Yo, it's your boys back again.
Back on the mics.
It feels like it's been a minute.
It does feel like it's been a minute, but like I feel like it actually hasn't been that long, but we've just been all over the place.
I know
since
it's
the
been
last time.
busy. Yeah, it's been pretty busy.
It's been good though.
How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good as well. All right, if you're watching on YouTube, you see we already have a guest. So let's look to introduce her. Let me just pull up my stuff so I can say it because I don't remember stuff very well. Okay, so she has a black belt in Aikido. She has 21 pro Muay Thai fights. She's also represented Australia in the 54 kilo division on 2019 and 2020. And also a regular on one of our promoter friends, Size Rebellion, and fought some awesome fights on there. And then very recently fought on another great show, Eruption, and had a great fight also. So in front of us right now, owner of Martial Spirit, Spring Sia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
That's good. It's like, yeah, it's fun to have you on. We had a good time over the last weekend in Eruption, like, hanging out on the barbarian side.
Yeah.
It's like everyone in the blue corner, we're all friends.
Yeah.
I see, yeah, we're just all hanging out in the motel area.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So, like everyone that we have on the first time on the podcast here, is to just ask their background. So how did you start martial arts? Where did it go from there? And how did you eventually get into to pro fighting?
Right. Started martial arts when I was 9. So I did Aikido because my parents wanted me to do something less aggressive and not so combat-like. So they started me at Aikido when I was 9, and then I kind of went on and off doing that for a little bit. Once I hit my teen years, I started taking that a little more seriously. So I think from about 13, 14 onwards, started doing that much more seriously. And then when I was 16, I started teaching. And when I came over to Melbourne, started doing that full time while I was studying as well. And then I think about like 21, maybe, started doing Muay Thai and started competing when I was 20, like professionally, maybe 23, 24. Yeah. Yeah. So that's about the timeline of my martial arts career so far. And they kind of just went full circle from like very Zen martial arts to combat martial arts. Yeah.
It's like, well, it's an interesting progression from there. Like, going from something like Aikido into like something very full contact and like pretty aggressive in Muay Thai from there. What made you take that change of path?
When I first started doing Muay Thai, like it was so difficult. It was so challenging. Like all the moves was really challenging. Just the whole idea of like being in someone's face and like trying to be aggressive to them was so challenging for me to kind of overcome. And that kind of drew me to pursuing it a little bit further. Like I was like, oh, this is so hard that I must do better. So then I was like, yep, all right, I'm gonna push myself and like push through all the challenges of like, getting hit or like hitting someone or wanting to hit someone. And just like that mental shift as well. Like that was like a little bit refreshing for me just to try that. And yeah, I think just because it was just purely really difficult. And then I just wanted to make sure that like to prove to myself that I could do it. Yeah.
Because like when someone watches you fight, especially just recently from there, you wouldn't imagine that like it started off like just being like a very zen type of style. And like it's like I thought it was a really awesome fight that you and Kiri Maru now.
Yeah. It was so sick.
It was good fight.
So sick.
Thank you. I think everyone says I'm a little bit too relaxed in the ring, and I was like, for me, this is very aggressive. But yeah, I'm still trying to discover that side of me a little bit more and like feel, I guess, a little bit more free in expressing that too, and still tying it back to kind of keeping my Muay Thai beautiful or keeping it technical, true to myself. But yeah, it's just been fun for me just to explore that side of it, just purely aggressive or like just being expressive in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Hugh today. He was like, go, hey, Spring's really cool. Like, infects the room with positivity.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's like, there's got to be a part of it, like, she's doing something dark because I can't be that positive.
Meanwhile, like crying in the back room by myself.
But then you fight, you go, oh yeah, fair enough. That's what comes from there.
I'm like, hi guys. I think it's like there's a lot, I'm sure like as a fighter, I'm sure you guys would like experience it as well. There's a lot of like internal kind of battles that you feel like you're going through all the time. And then the more you kind of overcome that, the more you kind of get through those barriers. I feel like as a person, you become more settled as well. Like, I'm thinking like from your fighting career, I'm sure you would have experienced that. Like, it's just that internal battle, like that constant internal battle. And the more you kind of understand yourself, or the more you, I would say, kind of get over those barriers, the more I feel happier as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So let's what we started here, because I want to kind of I have a lot I want to ask, but like I try to keep a logical progression, right? So we talk about kind of like that journey from I guess like Aikido and those very like different styles of martial arts into what you do now, primarily in Thai boxing. I guess like you talked about like the difficulties of the transition, like what kind of a shock it is. And I guess I'm always interested to hear when people didn't exactly start in Muay Thai, they kind of came that route of like another martial art. Did you feel like there was like crossover value from what you had done in Aikido? Was there skills that transferred over? Was it like a bit of kind of unlearning what you already know kind of thing? Like, what was that like?
A bit of both, actually. So I think in Aikido, it was a really good base for me in terms of just the discipline and how I was like taught martial arts. I guess when I was younger, because I did in Malaysia, and it was quite strict and it was very disciplined, and just kind of gave me a good learning attitude, I think. So definitely with that good learning attitude and that good kind of persistence through training, I carried into my Muay Thai training as well. And also just being a good teammate or a good partner. So I think like from experiences, like people that just don't really know how to be good training partners in Muay Thai, maybe because of that aggressive element to it, it's like they don't know how to kind of balance the give and take. And that kind of stops you from learning fast, I feel. Or just kind of makes you unpleasant to be around and nobody wants to train with you. So that too. So I think that part of it definitely carried through, and that's helped me a lot, like in terms of learning Muay Thai quickly or picking it up. And something just tiny, like just falling skills. I know I fell down before my fight and I cut myself, but like just falling safely in Muay Thai when I'm getting swept. I was like, that's kind of saved my head a couple of times. I had a couple of friends with like concussions just from getting swept and falling in their heads. So like that's like something small, but I feel like that's been helpful because I'm not too nervous about falling down or stuff like that, or learning how to like do sweeps. In terms of unlearning, also to do with sweeps, because I feel like in Aikido, it's you kind of go with the flow with it. So if someone pushes you this way, you don't resist going that way. You kind of go with it. So similar, like if you watch my fights, especially in the start, it's like I'm constantly getting swept because I'm like, I'm like, no, don't go with it. You're supposed to like block it, So I think that bit of it where I'm like, where to apply tension or where to apply resistance. Like I think I had to like unlearn some of that and then relearn how to use that in the Muay Thai fashion.
Yeah. That's really interesting actually. I guess. Well, I'm interested here because like you have like this is why that kind of the part of it is like where your sort of origin is in another style. I'm always interested in, to me, what I like to get into with high level fighters such as yourself is like stylistic development. Is like because you have like a very unique style. It's like it's not that kind of like we talk about like the aggression of the art, but it is a very like to me what I'll call a very beautiful style, like a very I guess artistic style. Like you like that you will sit on the ropes and kind of play and play that kind of like counter-fighting style. And also speaking of sweeps, you hit a really sweet sweep at the start of your fight in this one as well. So
thank you. I failed the first one and I was like, wrong leg, catch again, the right leg. I'm like, yes, got it.
That was nice. And actually what I really liked about that, I'll get back to my question. I got sidetracked. So what I really liked about that sweep is like I love the tempo change of that because, Kiri, who is such like an aggressive and forward fighter, and you were kind of playing that kind of like back foot kind of counter fighting game, and it was that like she was like the strength, and you were like just being fluid, that was my interpretation. But then like when she throws that kick, and then there was just this like almost just like flick switch, like just burst of strength and like that explosiveness from catching the kick. Like I really like that transition between like just sitting back because that's I guess like the art of that counter fighting game, right? Is like to trap and then capitalize. Like that was that's kind of like I love like a contrast of styles like that. I like to see that kind of execution. I thought that was really cool. I kind of got off on a tangent, but
just gushing over.
yeah, no,
I think your question was, where do I get that style? Was that your question?
yeah, it's just kind of like what the sort of stylistic influences were like for you, because I feel like everyone kind of, I guess, studies their own way and looks around to kind of see which pieces kind of resonate with them. I'd love to hear, I guess, kind of like where your influences were, how you like, yeah, what helped you craft it.
I think it's kind of mixture of my Aikido experience and also the coaching kind of direction as well. So I think in Aikido, I'm not sure if have you guys done like traditional martial arts?
Not really.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
So there's two roles, right? There's one person executing the technique and there's one person receiving the technique. So you have like in Aikido, the person who's executing the technique is like the shite, and then the person receiving it is uke. And you practice both sides of it, which is kind of how I learned how to be a good partner, because you have to yield when you're receiving the technique and try and follow direction, and then you have to, I guess, be more strong in your presence and your stance when you're doing the technique. But I was always better on the yielding side. Like I was always kind of a better uke. So I was always like kind of lean towards that more, I think, just in terms of personality or upbringing. So I think that sense where it's like if I kind of look at my Muay Thai, I have more of that yielding kind of fashion too. So it's probably from like that personality and also just being comfortable, kind of not going forward all the time. Like I'm kind of following the style or kind of letting them, like if she's coming forward, I'm like, I don't feel like I need to come forward. But I can go back and be comfortable with it. And I think just through experience, a lot of people just tend to be more aggressive and forward. So for me, it's like I've learned to just try and maintain my distance and strike from a safe distance. And also my coach. So when we're like through my Muay Thai journey from interclubs to professional fighting, I think from the start, it was very much like just clash. Like, you go into club and it's like 2 rounds, 3 rounds. It's like everyone's just like moving everything together and then someone wins. But after that, I think after studying, like we have like the Sitjapo twins or like Samat and just watching that style. And I'm just like, oh, that's just so beautiful. Like we got the opportunity to I've trained with Samat just once, but then I trained with the Sitjapo twins, and everything that they do is just so fluid and so beautiful. Good. It's just like, you just want to do that. And then you just, I think I was just like, oh, I just fell in love with that style. And I just want to learn that style. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually like pretty similar to like what I kind of did with my own style. Is like when I had my first, like, I don't even know how many fights, like a lot, like all I ever did was go forward. Like I didn't know how to take a backward step. I didn't really think of that as a viable option. I just never really considered it, I guess. And then I also went and trained at Sijapo. And like, he just like, Crew F just pulled me apart. Like he was like, there's different ways to do this. Like you've got, but then like when I spar with him, like, I mean, like he's seriously just like so sick. Like he's the best trainer, but also the best dude. Like you will not meet, like no one who meets that guy has, anything bad to say about him. Like he's just so generous with his time and his knowledge. But like that just made me be like, oh wow, like there's like you spar him and you're like, that's magic. Like that is magic. It's not like I don't even know how to describe it. Like the timing and the like
exactly. Yeah. It's just like that precision and like it's just so beautiful when you watch it. And I think it kind of captures that kind of art side of the fighting as well. So obviously there's like the aggressive side and that like that brutality and the violence of it. But then there's an aspect of it where it's like you're working on something beautiful too.
Yeah.
And that for me that draws. I'm kind of more drawn a little bit to that side of it. Like obviously there's that like controlled aggression and brutality and violence, but I also want to make sure that I'm experiencing as best I can, like learning the art of Muay Thai too. And like just that journey of it. I think when I first met Crew F and he was kind of teaching me, you don't have to just go forward all the time. Or it's like, this is control too. Like you can control the fight. Just standing here, you can control with your tips. You can control with good defense. And it's like, just work on defense and like, just strike when you have to instead of just striking for the sake of striking. And like even with this fight, because I sent him like the link to my fight to watch it as well. And just kind of getting a little bit of like asking for tips. Because obviously now I'm like, okay, I've been practicing this backwards movement that you've been teaching me. for a couple of years now, and I feel like I'm getting better at it, like with the left kicks and the knees and the teeps. And I was like, I feel like something's like, what's the next step for me, like in this game, to kind of develop it a bit further? And he's giving me a couple of tips. He's like, all right, now you got to just learn how to put the long guard out. So practice the long guard. And then after the long guard, it's like, capitalize on that, like move forward a little bit just to kind of accent your shots a little bit more. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's like that for me, like it's information. Like after fighting, it's like, okay, I can take that and like try and implement it to the next one.
Yeah.
So like that's super exciting for me too. It's like when I'm fighting, it's like I don't know what I need to work on really until you test it in the ring. So it's like I'm grateful for that. And like, okay, so that happened. All right, now I'm like, what's the next thing that I need to work on so I can just keep building on this game? Yeah.
So that's like, yeah, I guess that's one way of like after your fights kind of processing through and like, talking about like your style, like it's a great style to watch from there. And like, looking at some of your fights before, and I think I've seen you fight in nationals.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the fight and they go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. They go about it. And Spring got that. And then it doesn't go your way. And I go, okay. That like, how do you process something like that? Like, do you try and take the positives away from it, or do you look at it and go, all right, well, is there something I'm not seeing that they're seeing from there? And like, how do you go forward after those?
Yeah, that's initially I think at the start I took it like much worse. Like I'll kind of feel very defeated or like disappointed that people could not see what the team was saying. So it's like when I go back to the corners, I'm listening to the coaches and they're like, nah, you're ahead. Like you're winning, keep at it. And then when the decision doesn't go your way, or it's like just, or for me, I thought it was kind of like a clear win, like in previous fights, and it just didn't go my way. I think I took it much worse than I do now. Because now when I go back, is I only have a group of like, let's say I've got a team of, let's say 5 people that I kind of listen to for guidance, and I just look at them. Like even whatever the judges say, I'll always just turn back to them and ask them like, in your honest opinion, what do you think? Like, how would you score the fight? Or like, what can I work on for the next fight? Because like judges, they're different. Like every state that we go to, they value different things, and it's like could be like they've got a boxing background, got a kickboxing background. And it's just like it's just human eyes. Like it's different every time. Like how I would score a fight, I guess, would be different to someone else. Like, I've been to amateurs and like people out clinch each other for the whole entire fight, and the person that threw like 4 punches in a row and missed all of it won. It's like it makes no sense, and there's no consistency in the judging either, because I guess it's really hard to kind of gather everyone and just sit them down and let's score this way. So I don't take it too hard, too seriously now anymore. Like I think for me, it's like it is a little bit sad, I guess, to not get that feeling of like I won, like just like in terms of like public win, I guess. But inside, I do feel still very, very happy. Like I still feel very happy. Like after this fight, especially, I was just like, I don't really care that I didn't win. It's like I feel great. I feel happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just like it was helpful because obviously like I was there also and I also did not win.
But like, we should all look at Ibby. Tell us what to do, Ibby.
But like yeah, it was like kind of coming out. Like I didn't. I only got to see your fight like in its entirety afterwards. So I didn't see like kind of I didn't have too much sort of context. I just knew results, and then like I was a bit of a baby after my fight, to be honest. Like I mean, like not too badly. I didn't have a tantrum, but like I was pretty down about it. And then like when we all kind of linked up at the end, and you were just so like happy and lovely, and I was like, it's not the end of the world, right? Like
I was like, I mean, I saw you were really disappointed, and I was like, oh, what happened? Because I didn't get to watch your fight either, because all those were like back to back from each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't sure how it went, and I was like, people were telling me, oh, you did really well, but it didn't go your way, and I was like, oh, okay, like I can understand the disappointment. But yeah, I was just like, I just want to not let, I kind of want to go, just keep walking forward in this direction. So I was like, the less I kind of keep putting myself down or like stopping myself from going forward in that sense, where it's like, I need to back myself up, so I need to kind of like have my own back, and I know my team has my back, and I've got my own back, and that's enough, like just recoup, recover, go again. Like don't beat yourself up, because otherwise I'm going to be fighting myself and then now trying to impress a whole bunch of judges as well. It's like there's like too many battles to fight. Yeah.
And I think maybe like I'd be interested to get sort of your perspective on this, because it's like, I think like for me where I'm at now, like I've been lucky enough to have across like amateurs and pros like a fair few fights, and like what's come with that is like I've lost a bunch of times, which is fine. It's something that's just happened before, and like I think for me, I used to get really, really like not like really, really upset after I'd be upset after I lose because I wanted to win. But what I had to realize in like reflecting on it was like sometimes I would have a fight, as happens to everyone who fights a lot, and I was pretty sure I'd got the win. And it gets to the end and I feel pretty good about it. And then decision doesn't go my way. And now I feel really bad about it. And like what I had to think about it was like, until I found out what the judges thought, I was happy with that fight. And then their opinion and their kind of scoring made me change my opinion. But really the fight didn't change.
No.
So if I was happy about it just for what it was, and then I let like, and it would become this spiral of like, now I feel pressure in training because now I'm coming back to training and I have to train to win the next one. And like and then I guess what I realized is like, you really have to think about the fight and not anything external. Like if I fight and I go back to the corner and Shane said, that was good, we're happy with that. And there's always going to be things to work on too, but yeah, happy with how you did things. I don't really like, I have had enough fights now where I don't really care about anything else. Like I think for fighters, like, and this is what I work on with the newer guys now, is like, don't fight for what anyone thinks of your fight, because then you will never be happy, because like, you know, people's opinions, like you're never going to have everyone in the room like, that was awesome. Like someone's always going to have, considering content. And that was like an important one after this one. And I think like, it was really cool to see the way that, because like I said, like exact same position that you're in, I didn't get to see the fight, but I just saw that you were in quite good spirits and were like being really positive. And it's like, for me, I was like, yeah, like that's how it's supposed to be. Like, because you can just look at the fight, because if you just let it be like, you know, you're dwelling on what some people with pieces of paper thought, like not what actually happened. And it's just really not that. What do you care about your record? You don't get to tell your friends you won or whatever. You got to.
That's right. Yeah, that's totally right. Like I was just thinking about, because for this fight in particular, because I'm sure like every camp's a little bit different, right? Especially coming out of lockdown and just like so many changes in life. And I think in this particular camp and this fight, I just really wanted to be in that moment, and like in the moment, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future too much, and just really just try to experience it fully, and just for once just see how that was like, you know. Because I think I have a tendency in the past where I'm in the fight, I'm like, my brain's just kind of going everywhere, and I'm not just being here in this point. And similar as like when I'm sealing the ring, I'm already thinking about fighting, or like in the back room, I'm already thinking about, oh, I'm going to throw a jab, I'm going to throw a kick. And it's like, it creates so much tension in my body that when I'm actually fighting, I'm not even really fighting, because I'm already thinking about something else. So I'm just like, oh, I'm so sick of this. Like, I'm just going around in circles, because I'm like, I'm preparing for this fight and I keep thinking in the future and forward projecting, that when I actually get to that point of what I was projecting to, my brain somewhere else again. And I was like, oh, I can never fully just experience the moment because I keep doing this to myself. So I just keep trying to practice like being in that moment. And that was really helpful, because I was like, okay, once the fight was over, that was then. Like that literally just passed. And like now I'm here now. So I was trying to keep practicing that same thing. And it just like I felt so peaceful, strangely. I was like, oh, I feel so peaceful in here. I know she's trying to kick my head off, but like I still feel really peaceful. Like I'm so happy. And I was like, oh my God, like I was just so peaceful. I was like, this is so strange. But yeah, that was the experience, and probably why I was like feeling really happy afterwards still. Because I was like, oh, I'm so happy to finally just like that little bit of just touching what that felt like, to not think too much, you know. Because I think you know, you can probably understand that same feeling of like the moment you have a thought, it's too late. Like that, it's gone. Like, okay, the moment you like kick, okay, it's gone. Like you should have kicked already when you said kick. So I think just that thing, and I was just trying to practice and like get myself to that point of just doing instead of just thinking about the doing.
Did you think kind of like I guess like coming into this fight from everyone, especially people coming from Victoria, it's like there's been no preparation like it. You're right. Like, because, and especially for yourself, because you took this fight on somewhat short notice, right? Like it was,
Yeah.
I think Jazzy Par was
Yeah.
the match originally.
Mm.
Like, do you think that had an impact on sort of like your ability to be present in the fight, like the layoff and all of the sort of stress between your last
Yeah.
and this one? Like, how do you think, maybe did it help? Did it pull away from
Mm.
present? Like, did that factor in?
I think that really helped actually, just because of the turbulence of the whole entire year. Like there was just changes going like everywhere in life, and just so many things that are out of my control that I could not, you know, like hold it down. And I felt like it was just running away from me all the time. And similarly, I think it's the same feeling. I think usually in fight camps, I try and impose a lot of control to what I like to do. Like, okay, this time to this time I'm training, I'm gonna run like this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do pads like this. Like that's usually the structure. Like I'm quite a structured person in terms of training. But for this camp, it was just like everywhere. And I was like, okay, this is a list of things I know I need to do and I know I need to complete. So I'm like, in whatever fashion and order, just get it done. And just like letting go of that control a little bit more. And that was helpful because I just during the camp, because it was kind of like a turbulent camp as well, just realizing like this is exactly going to be like the fight. It's out of your control. You know, you can't control what she's going to do to you. You can control how you react to it or bring yourself to it. So practice now in the camp. Like if something doesn't go your way, practice how you want to fight anyway. Because on the day itself, it's like you're going to fight good because if you bring your mindset to it, you're going to fight just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that thought process. I honestly had like kind of a similar thing coming up to this fight. Is like everything you're saying resonates really strongly with myself. Like I feel really like one of my biggest problems has been like I've had so many fights that I don't remember because I just let my head just go like a million miles an hour and didn't really like just take it in, and it was just over and gone. And there were always the fights where like I was like, you weren't thinking, you weren't doing anything meaningful. You were just like, I don't know, like just kind of like going through the motions. And yeah. But I think like having the break from the ring, like kind of coming back to this fight, like the idea of fighting meant I was just doing it for fun. Like I was doing it because I wanted to do it. And it wasn't like, I think we make up things to add pressure to the situation. Like we pile things on that really aren't important. And I think for the first time coming out and just, I think it's a gratitude thing as much as anything. I think if you come at it from a place of like, I'm really just happy to be here. And like, and for me, it's been a matter of like, I'm grateful to be healthy enough and fit enough to be in the ring. And like when I just got, it's hard to describe. I think you'll understand. Like when I went to eruption at first, like I feel like, because I fought a lot, so I felt like I hadn't fought in about 37 years. Like when I got in I went there and I just tested the ring, and I was just looking around and it was empty, and I was just like, I don't know, it's felt it, and it was like something new, but at the same time it was very familiar. Like I was like, yeah, this is what we do. Like, how cool is that? Like whereas generally when I go and do that, it's a little bit of a nerves test. Like I start to go, oh shit, here now, we've got to do this and this, but I didn't feel that way just for the layoff. I was just like, yeah, we're back. We're finally doing this again. And I felt like, yeah, like you say, I think I did get a little bit of a feeling of being present. Like I was really like, there's not that many fights I've had where I've let myself have fun. Because that's the thing is I love fighting, but I've make myself hate it sometimes. Like I'm like, that was really not a good experience.
Yeah, me too. It's like you build up all this tension and you're like, if you love doing this, then act like you love it. Why do you act like it's torturous and then, you know, you have a miserable time. And then when the time is done, because we're not going to be fighting forever. It's like, we were like, oh, I just missed all those years of fighting because I just, you know, put all this added pressure on myself and I really want to enjoy it. So that when it's done properly. And I can look back on it and be like, I'm proud of what I've done, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, like when you say it like that, it's so obvious. It's
I don't know if it's like a lot of like a Western kind of like, you know, I don't know, pressure, like, you know, mindset or stuff like that. Like, it's prize fighting, like it's meant to be what it is. But it's like, you know, Muay Thai, even you guys as pros from me, you're not making enough fights to like, you know, make it that much pressure. It's like, so basically like it's not the money thing. So it's like, so why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you love it. You enjoy being out there and performing in front of everyone.
Yeah, because it's like the reality of it is like I don't know whether you and I are ever going to reach like 300 fights. Like by the time we're done in our careers, like I don't I don't see myself like reaching 300 fights, you know. And for me, looking at the Thais, they've had like 200 fights, 300 fights, and it's like that's why they're so good. But you know, they've done it for so long, and so I don't think I've got enough time to get 300 fights in my life. You know, maybe like if I continue my next life. But it's kind of like, but you know, it's like it's a journey that's still worthwhile having anyway. It's like whether it's 20 fights, 40 fights, or just one. It's like just make it worthwhile while you're doing it and have fun, like you said, because it's like not everyone gets the chance to do what we do. And like
Yeah.
I see people come in and like they've already got like arthritis, they've got hip problems, they've got, you know, they've just got genetic stuff going on, and they look at us and they're like, oh, to be so healthy and to just like
Yeah.
have that opportunity to do it, you know, we must be so grateful to even step in, like, you know, to put our bodies on the line just for fun. And
Mm.
like, you know, because we love it, it's like it's a blessing, like we can't take that for granted. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does kind of put it in that frame of mind, like you're gonna go out and it is like one of the most, I guess, like athletically and emotionally raw things to do is to like
Mm.
take most of your clothes off and fight someone
Yeah, 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 yeah.
on a live stream and in front of a crowd. And like if you're gonna go out and give it your all and not get the win, and then you're just gonna sulk about it and you're gonna kind of invalidate that experience, like sort of make it a negative, but just because you didn't win, like that's ungrateful.
It is, and it's like, but you grew as a person though, like whether you won or you lost. It's like that fight has changed you for the better. And the next time you fight, you're gonna keep building on that game, on that you know, on your skill level, and that's how you're gonna grow. If you're gonna just stop yourself every time you say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna win," or like, "I don't know if I'm, you know, if I'm good enough," like all those thoughts, I feel like they're in my way of kind of getting to where I want to go. So I have no more time to listen to that, you know. Um, and similarly, it's like after the fight, okay, if it was good fight, good fight. If it was a bad fight, like, you know, I've had a fight previously where it's like the first kick that the person threw, like I couldn't move my arm, and it was for like a title fight as well. And I like really beat myself up after that. Whereas if I look at it now, it's like if I would have, you know, had this mindset previously, I would have recovered faster, gone back into the ring faster, and like, you know,
Yeah.
continue progressing rather than just sitting there like thinking about my life. Like
Yeah, I think like, do you kind of feel like, especially going into lockdown, where I think having the ability to fight taken away was one thing,
mm.
but especially in Victoria, having the ability to even train, like, which really like, do you feel like it kind of gives you that perspective shift of like, oh wait, like this thing goes away at some stage. Like I think sometimes we can view our fight careers as kind of infinite. So like
Yeah,
you just kind of
yeah,
plod along when in
exactly.
reality, like every single time is just a piece of a truly, truly finite thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
totally. Yeah, I think when it first happened, and it kind of hit me, and I was like, wow, I've kind of been taking all this for granted. Like the fact that I can go into the gym and hit pads, you know, hit the bag, or like just have a regular class of teammates. It's like I've just taken that all for granted. And because we end up kind of doing a little bit of pad work towards the end of lockdown. I think like professional fighters could go in and like hit
Yeah.
pads, and like even that was like, you know, you get an hour to train rather than like 3 hours, 4 hours a day. And I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, like after learning all of that through the lockdown and kind of having that time to sit with yourself and reflect, you know, I want to change that mentality for the better, where it's like it's always kind of preparation meeting like opportunities, right? So it's like I'll keep preparing my body, keep preparing my mind, and keep preparing my like emotions so that I'm always ready no matter what. Like, so that was my mentality for it instead of kind of doubting myself. So when they said, "Oh, do you want to fight Kiri?" And I'm like, oh, see, this is the test. I was like, this is the test in that moment where it's like in the past it would have been, like, I don't know, you know, where it's like, no, like, this is what you said you're not going to do. I'm like, just say yes and do it. Like, so yeah.
Fair. So, like you now, you know, taking your pro career further, do you like have yourself like a plan in your like, you know, did your coaches like, "Look, this is where we're going to get to, or
Mm,
you know, these are the promotions I want to be on mainly,
mm.
like going forward now, like, yeah, have you set yourself any kind of goals in that, or just taking it like fight by fight?
Kind of taking it fight by fight to be honest, because I kind of have like an idea where I want to go, but I'm not too like 100% sure. Like I still want to fight in a couple of promotions. Like if I go back to Thailand, I'd love to fight in like Super Champ or like Hardcore,
Yeah.
like those shows. Like they've got a lot of good girl fighters, and obviously if one like once, obviously, like a promotion that everybody wants to be on. But at the same time, I've got so much work right now, like to work on my skills and to work on my, like my fighting style and just like really improving that. It's like I'm not too concerned as long as the opportunities keep coming and I'm getting the opportunities to fight and to improve myself each time. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
It's a good division you're in.
Yeah, great division.
There's lots of great fights in there.
Yeah, so many girls. Like I never run out of girls fight.
So let's just take a little bit from there. Let's talk about your gym. Spirit. So
Yeah.
how did it come about the idea of like creating the gym itself?
Yeah. So Aikido, it was an Aikido school originally, obviously because I do Aikido as well. And me and my partner, we were both predominantly Aikido instructors, and then we started doing different martial arts as well. And then from there, it started growing into something else that we enjoy doing. So if I was doing like Muay Thai, then we wanted to have Muay Thai at the gym, and just like it kind of sprouts from me wanting to train more, basically. So it's like I just want to train all the time. So I just want to create something where it's like I can train and people can train and we can like create good vibes and grow from there together. Yeah.
Nice. Like run us through like like martial spirit. So like what have you got in there? And like who are the people in there? Like even
All
other
right.
friends as well.
So we have Aikido, we've got Judo, we've got boxing, BJJ, and strength. We've got different coaches like and kind of team leaders leading all of it. And I participate in the kids program, and I also obviously train in the Muay Thai program as well. And I'm transitioning into kind of taking a little bit more of a coaching role in the Muay Thai program too. In terms of competitors, we've got a boxing team. Like they've got a couple of good, like we've got a strong like boxing team, like boxing fight team. And Muay Thai, we've got a couple of professional fighters and upcoming amateurs as well for next year. But yeah, BJJ, we've got a small competitive team, but I think they're looking to kind of expand it for next year, and similar to judo as well. But yeah, like everyone's kind of just doing their own thing in the same space. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds like you got building quite a nice little team there.
Yeah. Yeah, we all kind of just get along, and I'm just like, they're great. I don't know. I love being around them all day, and like, we laugh a lot, train hard, and yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Have you kind of dabbled in all or most of the martial arts that are under the roof there, or there's some that you haven't really been through? You've done it all?
I used to do BJJ actually every day, and then I stopped completely when I started competing in Muay Thai, and I just got back into it like 2 days ago, and I just got squished. But, but I was like, okay, I think I need to improve my grappling skills. It's like it's fun because we kind of do try and get the guys to kind of cross train so they understand the different kind of martial arts a little bit more, and also just not to be so close-minded to just think that like this is the best martial art, or like because there's a different kind of function for each martial art, and there's different benefits of it depending on who you are and what you're looking for. So we're trying to kind of keep that open mentality and that kind of family mentality as well, with the martial arts that we teach. And just have like people open to it, which is great. Everyone's really open to it, and they cross train in mostly everything except for probably I would say the fight teams, because they do need to narrow down on what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is because I see after Sai, Naji seems to be opening an MMA promotion.
Yes.
Spring Sia in MMA one day.
I saw him do that. I was like, I better start grappling because I like to be on the show.
Maybe. See, I've got a few questions here actually.
Okay.
One is from Sai.
Oh, hi Sai. You can just message me directly, really, but okay.
This is how we talk to our friends these days. We submit
a question. I just publicly asked them on the podcast.
Yeah. This is like half serious, and then like another half, like, like what's your favorite steak, and how do you like it done?
So Sai knows that I'm vegan, so it's a running joke. He just makes fun of me that I'm vegan. Tofu? Pan fried? Satay sauce?
Medium? Well,
medium rare.
Very nice.
Yeah, just wobbly enough.
you gotta like flip it before it gets stuck to the pan.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Fair enough. Oh, well, I got a question here from another fellow vegan, Matt Lucas, in Thailand. So, yes, how vegan are you on a scale of carrot to Karen? What drinks that drinks wheatgrass shots with her tofu?
Oh, all right. I'm definitely not Karen. I would say like I'm more carrot, but like purple carrot maybe, like not orange carrot. um, I'm vegan, but I kind of don't really tell everyone about it because you do get kind of funny looks, especially I think being a professional fighter and like being vegan kind of gets a lot of questions.
Mm.
So I don't really talk about it too much publicly, and yeah, like I'm not too fussed to be honest. Like all my friends, like once we get very like all my close friends or even just at the gym, everyone talks about food and they're all meat eaters. So like I go out and I would even like cook, I guess like meat and stuff if I was making food for friends. And my dogs are not vegan, so there's a lot of meat in the house.
Tony O'Brien's flipping his weaknesses. Well,
Well, I'm always interested, like not to ask about sort of being an athlete on a vegan diet or whatever, because it's just,
I think it's interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's just not like, I feel like everyone feels that. I mean, like the question was kind of like, do you feel like people feel the need to just give you advice about your diet when they find out that kind of you're a vegan and an athlete?
Well, they kind of ask, especially people that are around me all the time. They kind of see how many hours that we're training, or or they're looking at what I'm eating, or they spend the whole day with me and I haven't really eaten very much, and they're looking kind of like input output, and they start questioning like, when do you eat, or why do you eat that, or why you're not eating enough, or like and they start having a lot of questions, and it's hard for me to explain because I don't think I take a very scientific approach to my diet, which is why it's hard to explain it as well. It's just kind of go with the feeling of what I want to eat, and that sometimes I think that gets frowned upon a little bit. Yeah, where they're like, "Well, you should be having like 3 protein shakes a day." Then I'm like, "Oh, I take no protein shakes," and they're like, "Oh my god," and yeah.
Well, when you and I took to Woolworths after weigh-ins last Friday, I'm pretty
Yes.
sure there was a lot of scientific purchasing being done by both of us.
Me and Evie like, "Where's the chocolate?"
It's like it's like chasing my kids around. These guys, and they're
Like, are you guys fueling for anything important? Yeah, a fight. Yeah, chocolate.
I see. All right, so I got a real question here. From Brioni Soden. I think that's how you say your name.
Hi. Yeah.
Soden, that one. But one of the question was like, how do you find balance as a fighter with your lifestyle?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, that's a really good question. Something I'm working on this year, 2020, working on everything. I think how I've been kind of framing it in my head this year is that I want to do everything in life, whether it's fighting or something else like walking the dogs. I want that to be kind of led by my enjoyment of it. And like when I'm doing something to be fully participating in it. So for example, if I'm coming to the gym and I've got 3 hours to train. And if I'm like hanging out with my friends or like my dogs, it's like, okay, then I take away my mind from the fighting and just focus on the dogs so that I can purely enjoy them while they're still alive because they're probably going to die before me. So I think like I've been trying to compartmentalize my head a little bit so that it kind of gives me a bit of breathing space as well between everything. So I think when I first started fighting, everything felt like it was fighting. Like the whole day revolved around fighting.
Yeah.
And I was talking to like at the start, I think when I first had my first pro fight, I was talking to someone with like much more pro fights than me. And we're just talking about like how do you deal with it? It feels like a lot because you keep thinking about it and it keeps like eating you inside a little bit as well because there's like a lot of pressure on you all the time. And I was like, how do you deal with it? Like that fight stress. And he was kind of looking at me like really funny, like, what do you mean? And I was like, don't you feel stressed like about fighting? He's like, no, I'm not fighting right now. And I was like, oh, okay, true. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay. And I was like, okay, I'll just like, let's just drink coffee. Yeah, so kind of like, that, just that being able to, I guess like compartmentalize my brain. That's basically what I've been trying to do this year. Like when I'm reading, just enjoy reading. If something to do with something else, or just enjoy myself basically, is the direction that I've been kind of going to. And yeah, because you're not fighting all the time. You're not training all the time. Like, there's 24 hours in a day and there's plenty of time to do other things too. So I think if you kind of give yourself fully to that hour to training, or you're kind of giving yourself fully to the hour of reading or working and not dividing your brain into like the 10 different things, you won't feel so exhausted all the time. Yeah.
And you'll train better, right? Like if you
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
yeah, that's been a
Yeah.
massive one for me as well. It's like one of the things I had to do was like I'm really into like yeah, okay. I'm really into like schedules.
Yeah.
And I realized it helped me a lot to start scheduling outside of work and training time, like actually schedule time when I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because I have to
Yeah.
put scheduled time for no Muay Thai.
Be myself.
No Muay Thai at all, because like I go to training in the morning and then, you know, work or whatever I go do all day, and then I'll go to training again in the night, and then I spend all the free time watching Muay Thai and engaging with Muay Thai. And like I started just blocking out time to be like, it's in my phone, like at whatever time this is, like no more no more time watching, because like it affects like my sleep and my like, because I'll just watch fights and I'll really like just be, because, and I'm always trying to watch it as to how it like pertains to what I'm working on, like trying to find things in. But the way is I my problem, as my trainer understands, I spread myself way too thin sometimes, to where like I can't even keep up with all the shit I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
then I'm just like up late at night, like with my heart's like because I'm like trying to like study this, and then like it's like, all right, I better sleep now. I got training in a few hours, and I'm just like,
Yeah. I do the same thing, to be honest. Like I feel like I just need to kind of slow down a little bit and just listen more carefully to myself, and not
yeah,
kind of push myself past that point where I was like, you're burning out, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You know, you're trying to like control everything that you can't control. Um, like it'll come, basically, is what I was trying to tell myself. Like just have more patience. You know, like the skills will come. Like everything will just take time, but you do need to have a sane like a sane mind, a good heart,
yeah,
and like a healthy body. So you put all that first, and you move from that direction, and you have to enjoy yourself along the way. If you can function doing all of that and still cover all like the most important basics in your life, then
yeah,
you're doing fine. But once you start feeling like there's a little bit kind of leaning too much to one side, like if I'm finishing the day and I'm like, I'm going to cry very soon, then obviously something has gone too much in one direction.
yeah,
Then I'll just try and be like, okay, you're going to cry because of this. So slow down. Like take that 5 minutes, you know, sit in the bath, calm down. It's going to be okay. And then, all right, function from there again. Because I feel like if you can't function at your best, it's almost like you're going to burn yourself out, and it's doing nobody any good anyway.
yeah.
If you want to go to training, like, you know, give Shane 100%, but if you're coming in like already burnt out, and Shane can't, you know, help you with being your 100% anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like you realize sometimes is it really does only take 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah. It's not much. Yeah.
yeah, just
Mhm.
reboot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
How quick
yeah.
I can't.
Right. It's like, okay, just, you know, maybe I'm looking at the phone for too much. I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't need to like look at it right now. Like, just switch it off. It does not exist. And I was like, take like 5 minutes or like 10 minutes, just sit in the garden, or like, you know, pick up a book, or like have a coffee and just enjoy the coffee. And then
Yeah,
once you like calm down and reset, and it's like, oh, life's okay. Like, it's not
yeah,
that bad.
absolutely.
Like, yeah, I just made it up to be so bad. I was like, it's actually fine. Yeah.
And you mentioned a couple of things there, reading, just kind of taking a break. Is that, I guess you'd call mindfulness, I guess, sort of practice?
Mhm.
Is that, do you have like specific strategies outside of those? Is it something that you kind of just take as it comes, take as it feels needed? Do you kind of
Mm.
organize to you know, kind of just sit and reflect? Do you journal? Is it anything that
Mm.
kind of up your alley?
Not really. Like I don't really kind of follow anything specific. I
Yeah,
do listen to like stuff online, but it's more kind of how I'm feeling. Like, you
yeah,
know, if I'm feeling super energetic and I've got like lots of energy, and I feel like my brain's really sharp, I try and turn it to something that's like work related. You know, try and learn something
yeah,
about YouTube or something like that. But if I'm feeling like I'm starting to feel a bit emotionally drained, then I start looking for that assistance in that manner. Yeah. Mm.
Very good. I think we almost be close to wrapping up. But is there any more you want to ask?
I guess interested. But I mean, like you know, we've just been sort of shooting you the questions and things like that. I mean, what's coming up for you? What's in the pipeline? Yeah,
Um,
give us an update
I feel like I
for the
kind of
gym
feel like
as
it's gonna be
well.
a massive year. Like I don't even know what's gonna happen next year. I know there's roots, and I was like talking to Sai about it. He's like, "You don't have a choice. You're fighting on roots." And I'm like, "Okay." So I'm fighting on roots, everyone. I think that's in late February, maybe late February and March. Yeah,
Cool.
so I'll be doing that, and yeah, I don't know. Like, we don't even know what shows are going to be on next year still.
Yeah.
Like, whether, we're going to go back to Thailand. I really love to go back to Thailand and train for a little bit.
Where's the
But
spot that you go this time? Because I know, I guess that's something I wanted to talk to you about as well. So you Sijapo is kind of one of your spot, but I know you're at Pet Indy
yeah,
last
yeah.
time. What's the move the next time you get over there?
I'll still go back to Pet India just because the location of it being Bangkok, it's so much easier to get to the fights as well.
Yeah.
And
That makes
Sijapo
a
also,
difference.
yeah, exactly. But like, Sijapo is great in terms of like, I love the style, but it was just hard to kind of, I guess, fight regularly
Yeah,
in
and
that
they're
sense.
so busy now.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I really gelled with Ajahn as well. So I'm like in between the two. Like I love to go back to both, like
Yeah.
organize myself so that I can train at both. And learning a lot from Pet Indy, just being around all the different fighters, and there's so many of them, and just seeing how they train so hard. Yeah, that was really fun. Like I just love
Yeah.
being around there. Just like you're so small and just like watching all these bigger fighters like fight, and I was like, I just want to be just like them. I think kind of catches on to like all that good energy. Like you start getting fueled by that good energy. So yeah, fighting in Thailand. So that was a good experience last year, and I want to do that more again. Hopefully, the IFMA comes back because nationals is a lot of fun, and traveling and fighting with the Australian team is a lot of fun. And yeah, basically that. Like in terms of like Muay Thai fighting, yeah, next year. Mm.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Good. So, look, it's like we've already done an hour. That went very, very quick.
Oh wow, is that an
I think,
hour? That was
I
really
think you
quick.
have to become a repeat guest, Spring. If you,
Yeah,
I think we might have to do something regularly.
of course.
I'm not finished.
Anytime. We'll have to talk more about you guys too, like more back and forth, so everyone can just like learn more about you guys.
Yeah, of course. It's like it's always that first time talking to someone. Just gonna get to know them, or let the audience know what's up.
I think it's like we're gonna tell everyone how we met because like we're sitting in the room and me and Wilson just like chilling out because I already made weight, and then we could hear like tuk, 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 like the skipping rope, and then Wilson's like, I think there's someone outside, like must be a Muay Thai fighter, and I was like, oh, I'll go see, and I opened it, I'm like, hi, and then you were like trying to cut weight, and I'm like, oh, hello, okay, I was like, yeah, someone trying to cut weight outside. He's like, okay.
We just meet, like, it's just like I made so many like amazing friends and met so many awesome people in fighting. I think like one of the things that's the best about it is we just meet and interact in just the strangest ways. Like I was like, and this is like you just see. I actually think that's why you can meet people at a fight show and you kind of like leave and you're sort of close with them already. It's so like it's just this window in when you see someone from that pre-fight weigh-in process, and like if someone's a different person from when you see them right before the weigh-ins and then you eat with them after the weigh-ins, you just physically and mentally watch them become a completely different person. Like watch their cheeks fill and just their spirit lift, and it goes from like just desperation to excitement about the fight. Like once you get some food and some water, you're like, oh cool, we get to fight
and
tomorrow.
it's just so much fun. I don't know, it's just like when you share this like kind of similar experience, like last year I went to Bangkok with CC, one of my teammates. It's like we're still talking about it now. It's like it's just like, yeah, it's like you can bond over something that's so special. And even though we're not from the same gym or like we're not from the same team, sometimes it's like we're still bonding over something that we both love, and we have like shared experiences that maybe it's kind of difficult to talk to someone else about. They're not in the same, they're not doing the same thing. And yeah, you're just like constantly learning. It's like if I'm looking at you guys and I'm picking up and learning by watching you, or like looking at Ibi, and like same with Ibi, like we were at the nationals last year in Bangkok as well, which is why we have like lots of things to laugh about because he was just so funny when he was there. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're right. It's just like you feel so close to them like straight away. You're just like bonding over this one thing, and you're all there for the same reason, and that's so cool. Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that like I could be really grateful for coming back to, because like when you do it a lot, you do get kind of like desensitized to some of the things that are so good about it. Is that like in life as combat sports athletes, but particularly as Thai boxers, like you kind of an outsider in everything you do. Like, if you work in kind of an office, no one at your office really gets it. No one in your family really gets it. Like, even though you spend a lot of your time at the gym, like in the wider community, it's not like being a footballer or something like that. Like, you're always explaining yourself. That's what I find. I spend my life explaining myself. And just that peace that comes with everyone around not only understanding what you do, but really being in the same boat. That's why I love the fight shows. They're all there doing the same thing. They have to make weight. They have to compete. They have to deal with the nerves. They've been flown in from the other side of the country or something. Like everyone is just really in the same boat. And it's just like, there's just that peace that comes with that, like that comfort of like, even like when we met each other there, like we didn't know each other, but there's just that point of comfort from just being in this, like you just come up friends automatically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like I know that you get me, and that's like I know that I'll get you as well in like some certain aspects. We don't need to know each other like all aspects of life, but like in terms of this aspect, it's like I feel like we can bond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't like it. Like the starting point's kind of not here; it's like already here. So it's easier that way.
Yeah, and it just comes back to that same idea. Is like, what a cool thing to get to be a part of, not just the sport, but the community at large. Like, I think every year that I'm involved in Thai boxing, I just realize there's just endless, like, just awesome people to meet, and like that's what'll keep me doing it. Like, even keep me involved when I'm done fighting. Is I want to meet all these people, and that's why we make a podcast, right? I want to. I meet you, and I want to hear your story and allow your story to get told to other people.
Oh, thank you.
That's like the coolest thing. Like everyone's got their own. We're all sort of doing the same thing, but at the same time, it's all distinctly different. I think.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm such a baby in the community still. Like when I hang around with Sai and like the other guys, we're talking about like helping promote amateur events next year and stuff like that. I'm still like I'm so behind in terms of like I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to play catch up with these guys who've been in the industry for so much longer. So I feel like there's so much more for me to learn just in terms of like just the basics of like even being useful to the community about just like this is fun, but it's like it's such a huge learning curve that kind of push me forward. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I guess like just from a matter of perspective, like we come up to New South Wales, yourself from Victoria, we meet in Queensland, but we 100% met you as fans of yours. Like we're big Spring Sia fans. Like we've watched.
Oh my god!
Like,
thank you.
That's like, I guess that's the cool thing about it as well, is like from in your own kind of eyes, like still really just starting to scratch the surface, but you can have little pockets of people all over the community that like
it's really strange. That feels strange, isn't it? Like what's funny, when I was talking to the guys, because I didn't really talk too much about the show, I was telling like some of my like Melbourne friends about it, and they're looking at the card and they recognize you guys, and they're like, oh my god, you're sharing the ring, like the same fight show as like with Hugh, with God, and all that kind of and I was like, oh, that's kind of like I was like, yeah, that's cool, and I was just like, when you say that back to me, and it's like that happens the other way around too. It's like that's so strange. Yeah. What do you mean?
Crazy. Like just the way we all kind of engage with it differently, and like we're all sort of like, I guess we're all sort of fans of each other in the same way as well. Like,
it's like, did you see him fight so good? And they're like, oh, you fought good. You're like, I don't remember what I did, but okay. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Did I fight all right?
Because that's what I love about going to a show like this one, is like you yourself are a great example. Like the people that I watch when I'm at home on TV, like just watching Rebellion live streams, like to me, like I feel a point of accomplishment when I get to be on the poster with them as well. I felt that like with yourself, and like Shane knows as well, I was absolutely gushing when Got fought. Like,
okay, he had to borrow our box.
I'm gonna carry this forever.
I want that back, God. No.
He had his gloves on, laced up, taped, and he was oiled, waiting to walk out like he was the next fight. And then I went and said good luck, and they said, "Oh, thanks. Also, do you have a green card?" And I was like,
oh. Like, you love the level of chill. Like I think like once you get to that point where you fought so much, you're like, I don't really need anything actually. I've got my body, I've got my mind, I'm good to go. Oh, by the way, can I borrow your green card?
Like, yeah, I just wore it, but yeah.
It's like, I don't really need it. I probably won't get hit. That's all good. Like, just that level of confidence. Like, I don't need it. I'll be all right.
That's great. All right, cool. So look, we're appreciate coming on, and
thank you.
One of many visits that you visit the podcast.
Yeah.
You want to let the people know where they can find you? I know you got a successful YouTube channel. So following on Instagram.
It's our baby YouTube channel. So I'm on the Master Spirit YouTube channel. You will see me more next year though with some projects, like solo projects that kind of popped up recently. Can't talk too much about that just yet, but I will once I'm allowed to. And yeah, and you can find me on Instagram. I post stuff that is just random stuff, really. Anything that makes me like happy. And yeah, you can see me anywhere in Melbourne. You just come say hi.
Very good. Yeah, hopefully like next year we'll be making like a few trips into Roots and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Put in a good word for me with you.
Hi. Hi.
Also, a quick shout out to Daniel and Nguyen for suggesting to talk to Spring. We're all
Hi,
going to do it.
Daniel. I
Daniel-
literally just talked to you like 2 hours ago. So
Yeah, and that'd be great. Like Spring, if you can hang around after we do the outro from that, that'll be great.
yeah.
But guys, remember
Yeah.
to like, subscribe, share if you enjoy our content from there. If you don't, fuck off. I don't care.
Please do
No,
it.
it's up to you. I
Please
respect
support
it.
us.
Yeah. I would prefer if you support, but if you don't, just leave quietly.
Yeah.
Don't kick up a fuss.
Okay, guys, we'll catch you next time.
See ya.